Hey everybody, it's Shelly Hoffman again here with in the village of Baldwinsville with our mayor, Dick Clarke. Hopefully we don't have any technical glitches. He's coming in clear and I can see him perfectly now, but a little bit earlier that wasn't the case, right, Mayor?
Right.
How are you today, sir?
I'm doing fine. Doing fine. Enjoying the weather. Been nice to the sunshine. I mean, a little bit of rain. We needed more than that, but at least we got a little bit. Flowers are growing great. Vegetables are growing great. What else could I want, right?
Yep. I need rain. The front of my yard is all like starting to turn into dead grass. So the more rain we get, the better, for my yard at least.
We could use a little, like about a 6-hour steady rain one day would take care of us for a couple of weeks. Got a few things for you. You would think at some point we would run out of, we would have advanced everything to the point where there was nothing new to say, but we are working to get our meeting room / courtroom ready for if and when that we are told we should open up to the public again. Have some sneeze guards that we're going to put in front of the bench type thing. Working on how we can spread people out from the board to, use the whole room and have people at tables away from the bench, similar to what Lysander does. And so we've made some steps towards that idea. Court has been sort of indicated that maybe late July they will be able to open. That's sort of what they've been hearing. They're trying to gear up and be ready for maybe the week of July 20th to open, but they're not sure. And we've not heard anything either. So at least it's starting to feel like we may get to the next step one of these days. Nobody's in a big hurry to get there. It's kind of like when phase 3 hit last week, and some businesses like Pizza Man said, we're not quite sure how we're going to do this and do it the way the law requires, so we're going to hold off and just keep doing delivery and pickup. And makes good sense. I know one bar has shut down because they couldn't get people to adhere to masks and social distancing, and had already been fined once, and now they just said, we're not fighting this anymore. We're going to wait till all the rules are lifted, and then we'll open up again. So that's what we're facing.
Was that a village? Was that a village bar?
No, not too far away, but it's rather not throw the name out there, but they have.
Oh, no.
They have been on Facebook, so they're not keeping it a secret. But I think our businesses are all very aware now of the possibility of getting in trouble, and I've not had a complaint from anybody that our businesses are not adhering to the rules, and that's good to know. Canton Woods, we are getting ready to start our replacing the flooring in the big room and putting in the new divider door. The signs are up now that will be closed next week for asbestos abatement. And so all the tiles will come up from the floor, and the new tiles without asbestos or new flooring will go down, and then the dividing door, the new one, will go up. With that comes the announcement from Meals on Wheels that they will be closed for 2 weeks because of the asbestos situation. They wouldn't be able to be in there for a week anyways. And I talked to Donna this morning, and she said everybody's more comfortable with not being in there for the second week also. These companies do a pretty good job of extracting all the asbestos from a room. But a lot of the people who work over there are, I don't know if they're elderly, but they're retired age type people. And I'm sure none of them want to get involved with anything with asbestos. So Meals on Wheels will be closed for 2 weeks. I guess they already have done some of the emergency food delivery where they take the packages of Jell-O and the pudding and crackers and cheese and that, so people have something if they get short a meal one day somewhere. And I think they probably gave them some extra frozen meals to hold them over for part of that 2 weeks. And we hope that if anybody is in real tough situation with food, that they would call the county and see if the county could help them for a short term. So that's sort of big news that meals
would that Peace program help with that at all? Wasn't the Peace Incorporated doing something with frozen meals
it would
as
help,
well?
except they don't have a date to start it yet.
Okay.
I don't know what's holding that up, but it's not ready to go. So hopefully in a couple weeks it'll be over with and everybody will forget that they had a 2-week glitch. See if there's anything else with Canton Woods. Ruth Troy, like Mo and Cheryl at the village and in the courts, is slowly working towards when she gets the word that they can reopen at any percentage of use, to try to be ready for that event. Been getting a lot of phone calls. When are you going to open? When's Beeville Express going to resume? And they're all looking for farmers market coupons, and they still don't have any word on when those are going to be available. And the market's going full speed now with strawberries are out and people want to get out and buy some of that stuff. And the coupon program has worked very well for the seniors in the past. So they're anxious, and Ruth would like to get them to the people, which right now we don't have any to give to anybody. Right. Had an interesting conversation with Bob Wicks from Lysander last night. He's working hard on, I think it was maybe something in campaign that he had mentioned, a comprehensive emergency response program that would include the 2 towns and the village. And so we talked a little bit last night about the fact that he's just going to get the meeting started. He had kind of planned on doing it in the early spring, which went down with a lot of other plans. So we talked a few minutes about that. We also talked about the difficulty in opening up restrooms, the public restrooms. At this point in Lysander, their restrooms at Town Hall are not open to the public, and the ones at the park are not open at all. And he said that stuff he's read from the CDC says you have to clean them every hour.
Yeah.
The county told me that their parks restrooms are being done every 2 hours, but that if we didn't have as much traffic, it could probably be 3 hours or 4 hours. So ours are not open either because we don't know what to do. During the week, we can have people from the DPW, summer help kids go in and clean maybe every 3, maybe every 4 hours, but the weekend we don't have people working all day. So we're looking at trying to figure out what we can do for restrooms. It's not a simple solution. We don't have a clear-cut answer as far as what's the minimum we should do as far as cleaning. So that's one that's on the table, and we're still working on it. So
I know Tony's been calling other parks and just working on what are other people doing, trying to get ideas and brainstorm. Just like you had mentioned during COVID, the mayors and villages are working together. I know Parks and Recs, they're all trying to figure it out. They want to be open, but you got to do it safely and you got to meet the requirements. So It's got to be a huge undertaking.
And it's hard to encourage people to go back to the parks if they're going to be there for a couple hours and not have a restroom.
Yeah.
We're going to start getting phone calls for people relieving themselves behind a bush, and that's not going to be pleasant.
No.
So I hope people will be patient with us because we're trying to do what's right, but also do it sort of quickly because 4th of July is upon us.
Right.
We're a week away, basically. So that's another issue that we are dealing with. I talked to Steve this morning. Brush pickup this coming Monday. Now, some people got confused because we did a little bit this week, but that was leftover from the week before that we didn't finish because of the paving that tied up our people. So we are picking up brush starting Monday, so people can be prepared. The police department, the insulation project, which was part of our bond, was completed last week. So the 3rd floor of the police department now has sprayed in insulation, and hopefully that will alleviate some of the icicle problems and save us some money on heating and air conditioning in that building. And look at our numbers next year and see that we spent less, and that would be nice. Yeah, Steve's reminder about the parks is they're still open for casual use. Right now we have not rented out any of the pavilions, although we've had a lot of requests. Softball is okay at Community Park. Restricting it to 10 people, I think, at the time being, so you could have practice. Really request that people not use the softball fields as a dog park, and that's happening. They go down and it's an enclosed area. They can let their dog go run loose off the leash and not have to worry about them running off into the woods or something. But if we have people playing softball out there, it's not going to be pretty if the dogs relieve themselves in the middle of the softball field.
Not at all, no.
And dogs, when they get excited, go a lot more than normal in a short amount of time. So we've asked our police department to keep an eye on people being in there, and if they see anybody, to please ask them to not have their dogs in there. And I'm asking, hopefully word of mouth will get around for people not to do that. Told our lawn mowing people, if you see it, don't get in a confrontation with anybody. It's somebody else should take care of that, and but they may report it if they see it. So hopefully
we do have a question going back to the parks and the bathroom. They just want to know, is it a matter of staffing to be able to clean the restrooms on a schedule that complies? And I mean, I know you talked about the fact that nobody's there on weekends, but just in case they missed it, that's something different. It was just, is it a staffing question?
What we do, just so explain to people, during the week, the lawn mowing people that we hire for the summer, when they leave the shop at 7, the first thing they do is go to the restrooms and open them and clean them. So they go to Mercer Park, Paper Mill Island, Community Park. The order may depend on where they're going to be mowing that day. So if they're mowing at Community Park, that would be the last one they did, and then they could start mowing. Then the police department comes along at night at sunset and locks them up. And then they get cleaned again the next morning. So now we're faced with the fact that we have to clean them more often. Are we going to take somebody who's been mowing lawns and say, you're going to go back at, excuse me, at 11 o'clock, you're going to go back at 3 o'clock. And now you're not going to get much mowing done from that person. And fortunately with the heat, the grass hasn't grown too fast, but we get a couple good rains and that grass will start growing fast again, and mosquitoes. And so we have to try to stay on top of it, and we have to pull somebody off to clean restrooms. So we're looking at the possibility of maybe we would hire somebody for the rest of the summer, another summertime help type person, whether it would be a retired person or a college student. The possibility of hiring a cleaning agency on the weekends. Trying to find out what works the best and what is there a big discrepancy in costs. I mean, obviously, we don't want to pay a small fortune to do it, but if we're going to have it open, we may have to. It may be the only way we can do it. So, yeah, staffing is an issue in that we don't have anybody just hanging around that we can say, well, you haven't been doing anything for 3 weeks, so we're going to have you clean the restrooms. We keep our staff pretty busy in the summer, and we got a late start on summer. We still have to put docks in and that type of stuff. So it's not like we have extra people floating around, and it is summertime. A lot of people have vacations, and we have 4th of July coming up, so there's a day off, and we'll be behind that week already. So we are working on it. I've talked with yesterday extensively with Bruce Stebbins, one of our trustees who used to run Beaver Lake. And so he's used to that kind of stuff. And so we ran some thoughts back and forth with each other. And I'm not sure that we came to a conclusion. I asked him to think about it overnight, and maybe we'll talk again today and see if he's clearer. I did talk to Steve about it this morning. We don't have a consensus. What we need really need to hear from the county is the idea that if we did it every 3 or 4 hours, it's okay. We're not going to get crucified later when somebody says you should have been doing it every 2 minimum, but more likely every hour. There was some talk when this first started about maybe going to automated paper towel dispensers and soap dispensers, and you hold your hand up in front and the water goes on. The same with the toilet. You walk away and the toilet flushes, so then there'd be a lot less to get dirty. There's not
Right.
People wouldn't touch anything other than the door. And so we're still exploring, and but all that stuff costs money, and we do have a COVID-19 account that we hope that at some point, somewhere down the road, maybe there would be some money to reimburse us for the money we had to spend, for the crisis. But as Steve said to me yesterday, where do you think that money might come from? I mean, the federal government is already seems to be printing money to give it away, and the state says they have no money. The county is $100 million short. There's not really somebody sitting there with a drawer full of money that's going to say, well, we're going to pay all these little communities back. It might take a year or two when people have recovered to then come back and say, well, now we're able to repay you. And so, we do our part. We're expecting that it's going to cost us some money. We did what they asked us to do. We didn't lay anybody off. We kept people working. We kept them at home, but paid them. So we're hoping that the fact that we kept people off the unemployment rolls and saved some money at that end will ultimately reward us at this end. So we'll see what happens. It's a long way to go. The rest of the country's going through now what we've already been through, and learning that maybe staying home and maybe wearing a mask once in a while pays off. People should probably stay away from the politics of the whole thing and just realize it's just like the flu. If you stay away from people who have the flu, you might not get it. Kind of this philosophy, a little more complicated, but Friday there's an online meeting with Brian Stratton, who's the head of the Canal Corp, and he's going to update everybody on the reopening of the canal.
Okay.
We're supposed to be open by the 4th of July. It sounds like that may be the day that they do it. I'm told, I haven't seen them, but I've seen a number of items on Facebook from people saying they saw them putting buoys in, which is a good step. Even for if you can only go from lock to lock, it's nice to have the buoys in place so you don't run on the shallow part of the river, and there are a few of those. So again, one more step towards people being able to do a little bit of normal type stuff in their life. Let me see if I forgot anything that would be considered essential.
Can I just ask you one question about the locks?
You can ask me more than one.
So, as you know, I'm just learning this whole boating, water, canal thing. If they're opening them on the 4th of July, that means don't plan on being able to travel through them, right? Because it would just be, or are they saying they're going to open them on July 3rd? So on the 4th of July, you can kind of plan to go through the locks.
I'll look for Friday.
Okay.
When they make their announcements. Originally they had said by the 4th of July, and then I read something that kind of sounded like they were shooting for the 4th of July. Now maybe they would open them on the 3rd, so they'll be open for the 4th. I've never had a boat, so I'm not sure. I think you have to register to use the canal. I'm not 100% certain how that works. Maybe if you just have a license, state boating registration, that gets you through. I should check on that, because I've always just assumed things with that and never really asked anybody if they have to pay to use the locks. It seems to me that you would have to. But again, another thing that's affected by this is the visitor center. Do we want to open it up at the 4th of July? Do we want people in contact with boaters who are coming in from other parts of the country, maybe? It's just everything isn't quite as simple as it seems on the surface. I mean, I'm sure people would just say, just open the locks. Everything, there's not a problem. But everything has things attached to it.
Right.
And the visitor center has been, you know, a wonderful asset for our community. People putting a good face on our community. So when a stranger shows up and they say, "Where do I go to eat?" I got just what you need. I've got some menus. I love this place. This place a little slower. This one's really nice. Food here is, you know, you get that little hometown touch. And most of the people that are over there, when I'm over walking and stopping to visit, are just the nicest people. So it's a great face for our community. And I'm hoping we can that we can have it open, but we want to make sure the people that are staffing it are safe. You know, we may have to put like some tape around the porch and not let people come into the building at all, and just hand them paper menus or write down a phone number on a piece of paper and hand it to them, and keep our people safe. That's as the village. That's obviously our goal, is to keep the village running as safely as we can do it for the people that are running it. And I did want to mention, I may have forgotten when I was talking about Meals on Wheels with them taking 2 weeks off, is, as you recall, they were there right day one of the crisis and never shut down, and actually took on another 25% customers.
Yeah.
So if anybody thinks they're, you know, getting away lightly by taking 2 weeks off, I think they deserve a break. And
Absolutely.
the people have been taken well care of. And again, our community is so blessed with so many great organizations, and Meals on Wheels is right up in front, you know, of the crowd. So I guess that's about it. If anybody has any questions, Greg said a lot of people coming, you know, calling in, pulling permits, now that they see that this may last a while. They're going to get a deck built. They're going to get a fence put up, whatever it is. So that's good news for sales tax people, that, you know, stuff is getting sold. People are buying plywood. People are buying pressure treated, that type of stuff. So, you know, the county, which is so dependent on sales tax,
Yeah.
they've got to be happy to see things like that going on. I'm under the impression that your project with the community development, the Main Street thing, has started. You've got some work done on your building.
I haven't gotten work done yet on it, but I did. Gary from the Sports Bowl, he helped me with another quote. So I just have to get back with one more person and get it submitted. But one of the people that I was working with, you know, just had something separate going on, and I said that's okay, because with what I do for a living, this is a busy time. But I did say I want to get something in. I want to get it started. I'm not going to lie, Mayor. I have a little bit of hesitation on if it's going to come through, just because, you know, at the end of the day, the money, and I know they said they would, but myself and a couple of the other people that were awarded the money, you know, there are things that we need to get done. So we're going to move forward, and hopefully the county, you know, can provide the funds. But I think most of us understand if it doesn't happen, you know, there's important things out there that need to be taken care of too. So I thought I'd give you that feedback, just in case there was any thoughts of the business owners like myself would be upset if it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Not saying, well, I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but I know the ones that I've talked to, there's at least an understanding of the Main Street grant, and, you know, nobody saw COVID-19 coming. So,
and I did contact the county, and I will do it again. They encouraged us to get the program continuing rolling. So I would hope that the money that is put aside for that maybe has the earmark on it that it can't be used for anything else.
Okay.
And again, if people are buying, if they're replacing windows on your building, they're buying from somebody where they're paying sales tax. They're keeping people working in those businesses, so that, you know, it's a little bit of the scale goes up one side and down, you know, and it just keeps shifting on where the money is actually helping out. But the county's getting help when people are doing home improvement projects. I mean, it's helping sales tax, plus it's taking people off unemployment rolls. So there is the gain and the loss. And so I'm trying to see if I can find out anything from Marty Scahan, who's the lead person on this project. Just to say that people are a little nervous, that what if they go ahead and spend the $25,000 that they're supposed to spend, or the 30, and then find out that the county says, well, it's going to be at least a year before you get paid back. And some people, that might be all the cushion they had left. And
Yeah.
I'd love to not tell you you're perfectly okay and have it not be. On the other hand, I'd love to be able to tell you it's fine and it works out. So we'll see what we can find out there.
Well, just for my building, I want to throw out there, because I was one of the things, as you know, I was super excited about is fixing the clock, because since I moved to Baldwinsville, the clock on my building has never worked. So when I purchased the building, I put it on my 5-year plan, and then when the Main Street grant came, I thought, oh my goodness, between the windows, the painting, the trim, I put the clock in there, which, that I think that had, because it is a piece of the village. Well, it's my building, it's my responsibility, and I get that, but it is something that the village can see from the diner and different places. I definitely have to do the windows. I definitely have to fix the trim and stuff. But I think there's some plans in the works too to help me with the cost of the clock from another organization in the village. So my goal is still to have the clock fixed by the fall. If not, I keep joking that I'm going to do a Back to the Future fundraiser and see how that goes.
There you go. I'm excited for some of this stuff to get done, because I think it helps people going through the village. People who live here say time didn't completely stop. I mean, some things are improved. I mean, we've done the paving of the streets, which the streets look great. We're working on some other projects. The senior center will get taken care of, and hopefully by the time that it's done, we will get some guidance that we can do some stuff in the building, maybe on a limited basis. I do have a question in to the county about the senior center being able to do outdoor activities, Tai Chi, Zumba, some of those kind of things where they can spread out. They don't have 50 people in those groups. The Tai Chi is 6 or 7 people, very organized, very under control. So we hope that some of that activity can get started. And, just again, people will see that's starting. How long before the next step, where we can do the things we used to do. I said to Ruth, unfortunately, one of the number one activities over there is card playing, and that might be the last thing that gets okayed. I mean, that's hand to hand, sitting at the same table, not quite shoulder to shoulder, but they have the big tables with 8 people, and they're sliding chips back and forth. So that might be the last one that gets allowed. And I know I hear complaints. Our son Jim lives out in Rockford, Illinois, and the mayor of Chicago has announced that the beaches will not be opening. I forget what another outdoor activity thing is, not, at least not for the time being. And that's kind of discouraging when the weather gets hot. I think maybe we could take the kids to the beach and get them out of, particularly for inner city people who are stuck in an apartment. And it's not so bad. We live in a house where we can spread out. Linda can be in her craft room. I can be, on the computer, and we don't have to bump into each other for an hour. Some people don't have that luxury, and the beach or the park or whatever is a nice getaway. And so they're discouraged. I know that they're discouraged locally because they'd like Destiny to be open. And the assumption that Destiny is so big that people could easily avoid getting near each other. You walk, you see somebody coming, you go around the other side of the hallway type of thing. So everybody's got their little thing that's got them discouraged, and hopefully when those things start to loosen up. But I don't want to be. I mean, I heard Texas is running out of hospital facilities, for new patients. Do we want to go back to that? I don't. I don't want to be one of those people in the hospital. I don't want anybody in the hospital. So caution is the better decision, I think, on all of it. So if anybody has any questions, don't hesitate to call Village Hall and leave a message, and I'll call you back. And if you have a question about water or anything, like, call the DPW, and senior citizen call a senior center, and we're still trucking.
Nope, I think, always say we love the community and it sings about destiny and some other things, especially my kids would like to do. But you put it in perspective because as you were talking about the beaches in, Chicago and that area, I was thinking of Beaver Lake and Green Lake State Park that we have here. And so, and so we have those places to go to. But I think society in general, once you get one thing, you start looking for the next. But you're right. If we do it too fast, all of a sudden you lose the stuff that we already have. So, and destiny is large enough. You could avoid people, but the problem is you can't control what other people do. So I'm sure that the governor and Ryan McMahon are thinking, will the public actually walk down a different aisle? Will the public actually? And they got to play those things in. And so far, for the most part, our area we do pretty good, which is why I think the numbers have gone down. So, but so. And that Destiny not being open is horrible. But to your point, it saved me money because I have a teenage daughter who cannot wait to get back to Destiny with the sales tax problem that we have. So
we all have our own perspective.
Yes. So, well, thank you again. I always enjoy getting the information, what's happening to the village. I will be curious if you can find out a little bit more information about the locks, but obviously I can make the phone calls myself, but I always think if I have that question, then maybe, some other people have it as well. But, and the 4th of July is coming up. It's not this weekend, but it's next weekend. So,
right. So I will go on this call Friday morning, and any information I get, I'll post on the village Facebook site, and then share it with you, and you can post it, and we'll get it going around. Especially if it's, if they just repeat what they've been repeating, I'm not sure it's worth getting exciting. But if he says we are definitely going to be open by the 3rd, so we'll be open for the 4th type of stuff, we'll get that information so people know.
Okay.
That's good news.
Yes. And remember, we try and stick to good news when we talk on Wednesday.
I try not to tell you anything bad. Or I sugarcoat.
Oh, I got something in my hair, Mayor. You didn't even tell me. I got it out. But anyway, thank you very much for your time, and I will. I'll look forward to the information on Friday, and I will talk to you soon.
Okay, Shelley. Bye-bye.
Bye.